And in learning them, we have an ability to give something away, give some of that light or that energy or that hope away to everybody else. So with that being said, have you or anybody you know or heard of experience like your body is running you and you're not running your body? If we've experienced that, where I don't know why I did that, I don't understand, it's just happening, that's you in survival mode. That's you in fight, flight, or freeze, or your friend or your family member. So understanding that gives us a good idea of what's actually going on. Are we in control, or are we reacting to everything around us? So when we look at this time of the year is school season, but we all talk about it as being happy, uplifting, but for some people, it's actually scary. For some people, it's actually stressful. So let's just think about a transition time just for the child, and then let's think of the parents. So let's take, for instance, the child. The child's going into school, or the teenager, and they're scared about homework. They're scared about teachers. They're scared about the new school. They're scared about, am I going to fit in? They're scared about, am I going to be made fun of? Is this the right person? There's all these things rattling through your mind as a kid. Anecdotally, we were taking my daughter to pre-K, and for some reason, I'm like, I'm anxious. I feel like I'm going to school again. I'm like, this is pre-K. This is nothing. This is not even, they're just learning letters. But I got that anxious feeling. My wife says she did as well. So the parent can feed off the child can feed off the parent. And then we look at mom and dad, and they're like, well, are the kids going to have the right clothes? Can we cover the overhead of the school or the place going? Are we going to have the right scheduling? And this is all just for one event. So these things we need to understand can build up over time. These things can actually change how you perceive the world and perceive how you're actually experiencing the world. When we are stuck in fight, flight, and freeze is very important because everybody's aware of fight or flight, but the sickest people I see are actually stuck in freeze. And so I'm going to show you what happens with freeze that's really important to understand comparative to fight or flight. A lot of us can understand fight, flight. I'm ready. I feel like I need to punch somebody, or I need to do something, or I just need to get out of here. Everybody understands that, but a lot of people don't understand there are actually physiological respect or effects to freeze. And so what we're going to look at is what happens when we go into fight, flight, and freeze. All of that is happening in the brainstem here. So this is where your eyes are going to be. This is the back of the brain. This is the little brain, the cerebellum, the one that controls movement, processing, and so forth. But fight, flight, and freeze happens mainly in the brainstem. When we develop correctly and we're in that relaxed state, this frontal lobe and this cerebellum, they're turning off fight, flight, freeze. When you get stressed out, this frontal lobe and this cerebellum, they get weak. Mainly the frontal lobe gets weak though. And when that happens, you will start regressing into other parts of the brain. So if we've ever been in an accident, or we've had somebody really aggravate us and we can't say the words we want to say, that's because we've literally escaped the frontal lobe and we've gone down into the older brains. So like the amygdala, the emotional center, the limbic center, the primitive brain, the old brain. Now we need to understand, why would freeze show up? What's the point of freeze? So let's think about this. Mom has a baby. Baby needs nutrients to live, right? Mom needs to run away. Mom needs as much nutrients, as much blood and oxygen as possible to run away. So baby's survival mechanism when they're in utero is to actually decrease heart rate, decrease blood pressure, decrease consumption so mom can actually get away. That's what happens. And what happens if we're stressed out enough as an adult, we will actually turn on that same reflex. So the really sick people that I see are usually a lady, usually a thyroid body type. And when they stress out, their blood pressure is below 105. Their blood sugars are low. And they've been told, look, that's perfect. You're healthy. And they go, well, I don't feel healthy. I don't feel good at all. What's going on? And it's because they're literally stuck in fight, flight, freeze. They're stuck where they have such low blood pressure, they can't even run blood to their brain to get enough oxygen, perfusion, and sugar in there. So that frontal lobe gets stuck off more. They have such low blood pressure, they can't actually suck the nutrients out of their digestive tract. So we got to make sure that's up high enough. Those are the really unhealthy people. But if you go to a conventional medical practitioner, they say, lower the better. It doesn't matter. As long as your blood sugar is above 55, you're fine. And blood pressure, doesn't matter. Lower the better. That's because the only major active thing they're looking at is high blood pressure. They're not looking on the low end. The low end is just as bad. It's just that it's more neurologically driven, and that's that freeze effect. So when we can train you and we can get that frontal lobe activated and we're not escaping anymore, get that cerebellum working, then your blood pressure will actually come up into the normal range. If we can get you doing the right things so that you're not stressing out, and we'll get into this later, and your blood sugar is stable, it'll actually allow that frontal lobe to turn on. So what is the test that we do to see if that cerebellum is working correctly? It's, can you walk the line? Are you inebriated? Can you do it forward and backwards? Now, here's the important thing for you to understand. When we do it with eyes open, we can actually cheat and use our eyes for balance. This is why as we age, if we don't actually make our ankles really aware, proprioceptively aware, we fall and we break our hip. The number one thing that takes out people as we age is falling and breaking a hip. We don't want that. So our goal as we age is to keep the feeling in our ankles as high as possible, proprioceptively. When you're in the office, you'll see we have a Bosu ball for this week's game, and you got to stand on it and see how good your balance is. That's literally telling me how well your brain can communicate from your ankle to your inner ear and your cerebellum works correctly. The longer you can do this, the better. If you want to get really productive about this, you can literally start doing slack lining, where they have those lines and you can walk on them, or you can get on the little discs and stand on them, or the Bosu balls, or if you are akin to skateboarding, you can get a round tube and have skateboard tape on the bottom and then just roll back and forth on them. Surfing does this as well, but basically your ankles are going to determine your balance. And if your ankles can't actually drive the information to your brain, you will not have good balance and you won't know where you are. So have any of us heard that if diabetics are going to have bad balance issues because their nerves start getting sick, right? And the peripheral nerves, the nerves in their ankles and their hands are usually the ones that go first. And that's why they get balance issues and they fall over, is their body doesn't actually know where they are in space. So as we age, literally stimulating your cerebellum to make sure you're doing well is very important for active aging. If you don't want to do racket sports or do anything like that, just standing on one foot, if you can do it with your eyes closed, if you need to put your hands out or not, if you can do 1 foot with your eyes closed and you don't have to put down your foot for 60 seconds, you're in a good place. If you can't do that, just start with your eyes open, each side, and then work up. But the goal is to be able to get to 60 seconds, 1 foot, eyes closed. Then we know we're getting the right communication. What makes your brain feel awake when you walk is that your ankles are stimulating cerebellum. Cerebellum's activating the whole frontal part of your brain. So that's why walking is really good. But the movement is important because what happens is as we age, we lose the nerves in our ankles, and you have to do double the stimulation to get the same result as when you were 18. Now that's hard because as we age, we don't move as much. So if you moved 2 miles a day when you're 18 and your brain's feeling alert, now you got to move 4. Or you can use a cheat code that I do in the office. And that's the vibration board. That's why everybody likes it, because it actually stimulates the cerebellum, turns on the brain, makes you feel alive and awake. And it actually stimulates the brain. So that's helping the body. If you want to get aggressive, you can do 1 foot on the vibration board. It's a lot harder because you're getting all that vibration in there, but that's going to be Olympic level vestibular or Olympic level balance training. So that helps you really do well with stress. So if we have that cerebellum and we're stimulating it, you turn off stress. This is why when we're stressed, going for a walk is really, really good for you. Not just because you get out in nature and you stimulate your vagus nerve by seeing it, you're breathing in air. It's because you're literally stimulating your brain by walking. If you sit there and you ruminate and you get into these limbic spins or emotional cycles, or you keep thinking about the same thing over and over and over again, then you're going to boost cortisol. You're going to boost adrenaline. And this by itself will actually cause blood sugar issues. So cortisol and adrenaline spikes up blood sugars. Now, are we going to really run or fight? No, we'll probably just sit there and stew about whatever our problem is. And our sugars are high. So now we get insulin spiking to pull it back in. And that drives the inflammation. Every time we spike insulin, it actually drives inflammation. It turns on a gene called NF-kappa beta, but we don't need to get there. What we need to understand is that our thoughts can spike sugars, which could turn on insulin, which then drive more inflammation. And then the sugar gets pulled down. And this is why after a good cry or a good fight or a good, I'm pissed off, you're always craving sugar because your blood sugars have been yo-yoing. And so you're going to want to get that sugar in to do that. That's a quick and easy out. But the truth is, if you are in the later part of the day, a protein is going to be a good meal for you. If you're a thyroid body type, protein is going to be the answer, not sugar or caffeine, even though that's what you're going to crave. If you're an adrenal or gonadal body type, it's actually going to be vegetables or fruit. You're not going to, as the adrenal, you're going to be like, oh, I really want that. Carrot cake could be one of them. Mac and cheese. We want that salt, and we want that dairy, and we want that fat, and we want that protein. That's going to do the same thing for us. We're going to push up that blood sugar again. It's not going to be right away. For the thyroids, that's fine. They're going to eat that, and they're going to be okay. But for the adrenal gonadal, you're going to take it in, and then that's going to spike your adrenals, and then boom, you're going to have that same blood sugar spike again. And then it's going to go up and down and yo-yo till you fall asleep. So that by itself is going to drive inflammation, and that inflammation is going to burn you out more. So this is why eating carbs, no matter who you are, if you're eating sugar all the time, it's going to hurt you. It's going to inflame you because of the yo-yo. If your sugars stay stable, you're okay. So this is why a lot of people will say, well, if you're going to get some carbs, go after fruit because you got fiber in it because it releases slower. But it's still sugar, so understand that. But understand your body type and how you respond to stress, and what you crave is going to tell you what's going to give you that dopamine hit, what's going to give you that, oh, I feel calm, I feel better. So we talked about adrenaline and cortisol. Now, if you're somebody who wakes up 4 to 6 hours after you fall asleep and you're wired, you have cortisol fatigue. Because what will happen is when you fall asleep, your blood sugars are going to be at a certain level. And as you go to sleep within about 4 hours, the sugar that's in your system is used up. And then what's supposed to happen is cortisol is supposed to go up and blood sugars are supposed to go up with it slowly. But if you have no cortisol because you've been using it up throughout the day for stress, your body doesn't want you to die. So it goes, well, how else can we spike up blood sugar? we're going to release adrenaline. But adrenaline has other side effects, like it wakes you completely up, heart rate goes up, you're wired. That's the fight, flight, freeze hormone. So that's going to push that up. But if you're wired when you get up, that means your cortisol is depleted. We got to help you get that cortisol under control. So what are things that can drive cortisol high? Eating sugar throughout the day, taking in caffeine, chronic emotional stress. If your adrenals, eating a lot of protein. And if we see this, then we understand that we need to eat right for our body type to have our blood sugars under control, to not fatigue ourselves just as much as we need to have our emotions under control or able to be regulated. And understand this. And when I tell people this, they go, oh yeah, but a lot of people don't understand this. Just because you feel it, it doesn't mean it's you. The emotion, the thought can come into your head. That doesn't mean it's you. It just came into your head and you can decide to accept it or not. This is really important because you can have crazy stuff come in your head and it doesn't mean anything. What you are is your choices after those thoughts come in your head. Do I go with it or do I not? That's an easy way to understand that you, if your frontal lobe is working, are making the decisions. Now, if we go into what are some indicators that we are stressed, and I'll allow people to shout them out or say them if they know of any, because I've said a bunch of these before. Do we have any ideas of stress indicators in this class?
Your palms are cold and dry.
Cold and dry is extreme. Yeah. So one of them is your palms are cold, your hands and feet are cold, your nose is cold, your forehand's cold. So if you're that person who has to wear socks, or your family member has to wear socks to bed, we got a stressed out person. Or they have a thyroid problem, so we're stressed out because of chemicals or because of hormones as well. If your hands are sweaty, that's short term. Hands and feet are sweaty. If they're dry, it's long term. So yes, if we have dry, cold hands or feet, we're really stressed out. How about our breathing? How often are we going to be breathing? Are we going to be breathing nice and slow? Or are we going to be, we're going to be breathing really quickly, right? So it's another way to tell how stressed we are. How about our muscle tone? How relaxed are our muscles going to be? Are we going to be nice and relaxed, or are we going to be in that ready to run and fight state where our shoulders are high, our head is forward, we get neck pain and low back pain and all that stuff because we're ready to go? So that's that chronic neck stuff that we see. We'll also see some people hold the tension in their eyebrows or in their jaw. I had one lawyer that I took care of, and she broke 6 crowns in like 4 months because of the stress of her job. And we're not talking like porcelain, we're talking like gold crowns, like stuff that's not supposed to break. Because what happens is when you're really stressed out, your body knows you need to be able to sleep, to relax. So what does it do when you're sleeping? If you can't actually normally relax, it will stimulate the vagus through jaw movement. So if you see people chronically moving their jaw or always needing to chew gum, and that's a cheat code. If you're stressed out, chewing gum will calm you down. It'll stimulate your vagus. One of the people in the crowd, not saying who, said chewing gum all the time. Wife. So that's one of the ways we can calm ourselves down, is chewing gum. Now we'll see the side of this. If we're not aware of it, we may be medicating with food, but that's doing the same thing. We're getting the dopamine rush. We're trying to chew. We're trying to relax ourselves with the food to make ourselves feel calm. Heart rate will be high unless you're that freeze person, and then it'll actually be low. And then blood pressure will be high unless you're the freeze person, and then it'll be low. So the low one is what most people miss. And those are the people that I see that are really stressed out. They're low. They're coming in, their blood pressure's 98 over 48, and they're saying, look at how healthy I am. And first thing I say is, are you a triathlete or do you run a lot? And they say no. I go, we got problems. If they're running a lot, I'm going, okay, this is exercise-induced bradycardia or low blood pressure, low heart rate. If it isn't, we got bigger issues because that means brainstem is taking over and everything is actually shutting down. So what I want us to do is we're going to go through a simple breathing exercise. And what I need you to understand is where we breathe from tells me how stressed we are. So we're going to do, I've done this a couple times. We'll do it again. I haven't done it in a while. One hand goes on our chest. The other hand goes on our tummy. Which hand do you think is allowed to move? And it's not both of them. The tummy hand, exactly. So if we are relaxed, we can do tummy breathing. If we are stressed out, you'll notice how people hyperventilate. They go like this. And if you're relaxed, you're actually going to tummy breathe. If you yawn, this tells me you're stimulating the vagus nerve. So what do we want to do? Don't make me yawn. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to practice moving that tummy. So how do we practice? Visualize air coming in and making the balloon big. The balloon's going to be the tummy. And then pull the balloon in. Shift the balloon. When you do this, we do not want to feel the chest move. If we see this, we're using too much of our chest. If we're going, and 90% of it is the tummy, we're doing the right thing. When we tummy breathe, it will actually stimulate the vagus nerve. When we tummy breathe, now what's the vagus nerve do? It stimulates the happy. It stimulates the digestion. It stimulates you to make the neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, and all that move up to the brain so you have better stress management. If you have a hard time starting tasks, that tells me you have a serotonin issue. If we have a hard time finishing, it tells me dopamine. If we have both, then we got both neurotransmitter problems. And that comes from the gut and moves up through the vagus into the brain. So if we stimulate it, we get those neurotransmitters into our brain. So let's practice this. We're going to do an easy one. We're going to do a breathe in for 2, hold for 2, breathe out for 4. If that's too fast or too slow for you, get to modify it. But when you breathe in, you're going to breathe out twice as long as you breathe in. So if we breathe in for 1, how long do we breathe out? 2, that's right. How about if we do 3? 6. Oh, you guys are geniuses. We got math people in here. All right, so what are we going to do? We're going to breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to hold. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And here's the key. At the end, breathe as hard as you can. That's when you get all the vagal tone stimulation. It's that little push at the end that's going to help you. Now, that one was harder. I could see some of your faces were not happy. So we're going to do 4. We're going to do 2 and 4. Okay, so let's breathe in. Hold. 1, 2, out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. Karate. There we go. So are we feeling this? Now, what I want you to do is when you're feeling stressed, this is the cheat code. You literally start doing this breathing. If you can't do this because you're too stressed, just do box breathing where you breathe in for 2, hold for 2, out for 2, in for, and hold again, and then do that. But what you really want to do is breathe out. The out, you're going to get more out of it. If you're like, oh, I can't calm down, then breathe really, really fast for a minute or 2, get it out of your system, and then calm down. If you need to make a decision and you're under stress, you're always allowed to go to the bathroom and breathe for a couple of minutes before you come back. You're always allowed to stop before you move into something and breathe a couple times, because what that's doing is it's activating that frontal lobe and that cerebellum so that you're going to be able to make those decisions correctly. And that's our goal, is to help empower you so that you can make those wise decisions and not get stressed. So if that XYZ salesperson says you got to make the decision now, what they're hoping is that your brainstem is taking over and you're saying, well, how do I get this person out of my life? I don't want to deal with them right now. I'll just say yes. No, you literally need to go, I need some time. I need to think. because they're trying to get you into that stress response where you'll say yes to whatever just to get it over with. That make sense? And when that brain stem's there, that's going to make decisions that you're not going to like. So other ways to stimulate your body to stay relaxed, anti-inflammatory foods. So this is eat the rainbow. This is that stuff that they talk about. This is veggies and fruits, depending on body type. Everybody can do veggies. Certain fruits, if me as an adrenal body type, I can eat all the fruits I want. I don't really get the happy feeling that the thyroids do. But the thyroids still need to eat them, even though they can't eat as much. You still need to eat the colors as a thyroid person. You just can't eat as much. The adjustment will do this. The research shows the adjustment stimulates the frontal lobe and the cerebellum, turning off the stress response. The cheat code that you guys have noticed that we've implemented lately is the laser. The laser will actually stimulate those certain areas, increase blood flow, increase oxygen, decrease inflammation, get rid of plaquing. So that's why I brought it on, is I wanted a quicker way to help everybody with their brain. And blood sugar stability is really important as well. We already talked about this, but there's one right here that is the simplest, the easiest, but for a lot of people, the most neglected. What do you think I'm going to say is the easiest thing to actually change, but a lot of people don't do it? Water, hydration. Are we drinking enough? If you're new to this state, dehydration is very common because of the altitude. And it's really dry. Most people don't even know they're sweating all day. A simple rule of thumb for everybody is drink 32 ounces within the first hour of waking up, and then drink the next 32 to 64 throughout the day. Why do you need it when you first wake up? That's when you get rid of all the toxins. If you do it in the morning, you'll pee out all the bad stuff. If you don't, you'll start recycling it, and now you have to process it all again, and it can cause more inflammation. So that's the big thing, is get that water in you first thing in the morning, get all the stuff out of you, and then drink proportionately. If you feel like you're dehydrated, that means you're already dehydrated. If you feel thirsty, you already need more water. The other thing we want to make sure, congruent to body types, salts are really important as well. Dehydration is not usually just water, but it can be salt deficiencies. So sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, different simple minerals that you can use. We don't want a lot of sugar, but we definitely want them in there. When we do our questionnaires, I usually see sodium, potassium imbalances in a lot of people. So if we eat anything processed, you have way more than enough salt. You have way more than enough sodium in you. Potassium is what's mixed out. So if you ever heard an apple a day keeps the doctor away, that's high in potassium. It'll actually help you with that. So I know this because my grandfather used to make his own apple cider, and the cardiologist didn't like it because his potassium was too low, because he would drink 2 to 3 glasses of it a day. So that's how the apples come in. So if we look at this, I need you to understand that you're not broken if you're experiencing these stress things. Your brain is responding to what your environment is. Now, I also need you to understand what you think about is your environment. So if we chronically think about horror movies and we go to sleep with horror movies, we're literally setting ourselves to be stuck in stress. I have patients who know, I watched this horror movie, or I watched this murder Shiro or whatever show. I'm like, that's literally setting you up. That I'm cold and I'm getting that adrenaline rush. That's your body going into fight or flight. Oh my gosh, that's fight or flight. And if we do it enough, we can literally trigger ourselves to burn out our cortisol, burn out what's going on. So if you are burned out, if your family member is burned out, if you hear them saying they're tired or they're stressed or they just can't get enough sleep, have them get checked. Have them get checked, because getting checked will easily let us know what we can do to help them. We'll see, is it blood sugar, oxygen, digestive issues? Is it a brain issue? Is it an alignment issue? What is it? And we'll be able to help them. We do have our patient appreciation week coming up. It's on October 2nd. So we basically have a month to think of those people you want to help. And that's when you get the really good deal. That's that $20 deal for the full exam. So think of the people now, start planting the seed now. And 2 weeks before it comes up, we always put the board up. And that's when you can help out all your friends and family members. Do we have any questions?
I heard recently about fawn, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Have you heard about that?
I have not heard about that.
Yeah.
What would fawn stand for?
Well, I don't know. I think maybe it's all, oh, sure, I'll do whatever you want. I'm letting go of my reasoning or my, like,
That would be basically, that'd be more brainstem. That'd be like, I think that would go into freeze where you're like, just get away from me. I don't care. Just do, I don't care. It's probably a psychological thing, but that's my educated guess. I never like hearing that, but that's my guess. Yes.
Is grinding your teeth at night also your body trying to stimulate your vagus nerve?
The answer is yes. Grinding your teeth at night is trying to stimulate your vagus nerve so you can stay asleep and not burn out. So that's why you're grinding your teeth. If you're not stressed, you will not grind your teeth because you won't need to stimulate the vagus nerve. If you're stressed out, you'll need to do that.
I've been telling myself, and I think this is just saying what you said a different way, that the minute I push my belly out to breathe, I'm switching my neurobiology and the hormones being released, and I'm telling my body nothing's wrong, everything's fine. To consciously think about breathing is so simple and powerful.
Correct. So,
everything.
So if you didn't hear that, we have one nice lady in the crowd saying she's telling herself that when she does belly breathing, she's actually changing her physiology, changing the stress hormones, changing how she breathes, and it's actually calming her down. The answer is yes. If you use your stomach, you are doing that. You will change cortisol, adrenaline levels. You will upregulate oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin levels. You will connect more. You will be more vagal tone. You will be in a good state. So the answer is yes. What you're saying is 100% true. So I want to thank you all for being here and have a blessed night.